you might not live another minute.
That's absolutely right.
I know what fear is, and then I know what rejoicing is too.
So you were sitting in that tank when the news came over your little radios.
I'm over my radio to, right there. War is over. War in Germany is over. But the war in South Pacific is still going, of course. And we sit there, so just sit there, and then we got orders to turn around and go back to our bivouac where we built. It wasn't far back. We had moved. We were going across the End River, and it was blowed out in front of me. The End River Bridge blowed out in front of me.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Tell her about being at Birch's Gardens.
Oh, I went on up to.
Where was this?
That's Hitler's old hangout. You know where it is. We went on up there after the war, but the 101st Airborne took care of that in front of us. They bombed it and burned it in. And I was surprised. I thought Birch's Garden would be a big place, but it wasn't. It was small. It was his headquarters, and it wasn't nothing but. About all I seen was concrete bunkers. Everything was concrete and bunkers. Birch's Garden. There wasn't nothing fancy about it. And I picked up some stationery. Some of she can prove it. She's got the letter. And I picked up some of Hitler's stationery, and I wrote her a letter on that stationery, and she's got the letter to this day.
Oh, fine.
You won't believe that, but we can prove that because we got the letter.
That shows you were right
That
in the
shows I
spot.
went to bookstore and I found a pair of boots up there on Hitler's where he's supposed to stay. And I picked up them, and we got to send things back home. I sent a lot of stuff back home, and I sent a pair of boots back home to my dad. And I still had some guns. I got a gun I wouldn't put me. 9mm Browning automatic pistol. I kept it a German officer, and he had it on him, and I took it off of him. I carried that thing back home with me.
So you captured.
I still got it.
Tell us about capturing prisoners. Did you see a lot of prisoners taken?
Yeah. Since you've been to jail, and you know what I'd do with prisoners? They'd give up. I'd put them on the side of my tank. I'd make them ride on the side of my tank and move. And the Germans wouldn't shoot their own people. Hell, that's self-protection. We did that.
Yeah.
They said, get up on this tank.
Yeah.
I'd make them ride that tank.
Well, did you have to stand guard over them or tie them on or what?
No, just make them stay on there. You didn't tell them. You threatened them.
They knew.
Couldn't talk without threatening. See, I carried a sidearm and a rifle, and the motion if the job would say, no, I'll shoot you. And sign language. Well, I done that. I don't know. All of us did that. They give up. Some of them we didn't have room for. We send the boat back. Tell them to do like this and keep walking. Make sure they didn't have. They had any arms.
What were they? Young boys, old men?
A lot of them were.
Very young.
They were young boys too. Feel sorry for them. If you can feel sorry for somebody who's trying to kill you, but they had their orders. Yeah, just the line after line of it. And I figured they were glad to give up. War is hell.
Did they act insolent or did they act humble?
Humble, very quiet. They didn't say a word.
So you picked up on their attitude and you could tell if they were sincere.
They wasn't even talking to each other. Just kind of numb. They just accepted their fate, and there wasn't nothing they could talk about. And we'd get to a town. We'd make them get off and take off back the way they walking. We wouldn't we try not to stay in the country at night on account of being bombed. We'd try to go into a town. We'd stay in the town, children's town at night.
Were the soldiers hungry? Did they look starved?
Well, I couldn't tell anything about that. I don't know, but then we had 2 or 3 weeks, I don't know, a month. We sit there waiting for orders to come back. And I've been a hunter all my life. And boy, that was beautiful country where I was at on that End River, kind of rolling in timber in the middle. I was beginning to see deer tracks around the camp where it was at. so I had a 30 caliber carbine that was what I carried with me all the time. And I did a lot of deer hunting. I killed a lot of deer. And the funny part about those countryside are villages. They're not like it is here. There'd be a village houses set out as a group, and in this village, and over here would be another little village. And I remember the first deer I killed. I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I seen this house, and not too far in the distance, and I knew them people were hungry. So I took my bootstrings, I tied that deer's hand. They're small deer, they wasn't big old deer like we have here. I tied them feet together, and I put that deer across my shoulder, and I was in full combat uniform. That's all I had to wear. And I took off down toward this house. And I walked in that house. I had a rifle on one arm and a deer slung over the other. And I wondered how scared of what them people thought. It's in the American show. I've thought of it 100 times. Coming down that road with a rifle in one hand and a deer over the other shoulder and full combat uniform. And I go down to this house and I walk up on the door and I knock it. I said I didn't know what I was going to get into. It seemed like a man come to the door, an old man. And when he come to the door, I threw this deer down on. I couldn't talk, and I said, "You want that deer?" Yeah. Well, let's start with it.
Sure.
And I don't know. After that, I remember taking one deer into camp, and we cooked at camp, and I remember eating one deer right there before we were at camp, giving the lady a deer, and she cooked it, and we furnished the grease, the salt, and things like that, and she cooked the deer for us. My squad, we eat that, and so that was some of the spoils of the war.
Yeah.
And boy, I enjoyed that.
What country did you say that was?
What country?
Uh-huh.
That was Germany, right on the Inn River.
Okay.
Right, the Inn River goes like this, and here's Germany, and here's Austria. Berchtesgaden is right up here.
Yeah.
And there's good things about it. And they had jackrabbits over there, and the commanding officer had a Jeep, and that old Jeep, of course it had a top on it. It had a windshield like this, and that first sergeant and me, we found out they had jackrabbits around there. And boy, I could shoot. I got medals to prove it. I could shoot rabbits. We'd get out in that Jeep. We just having fun there for the war. We'd get out in that Jeep and grab around them meadows and jump those jackrabbits. And I'd stand up and hold onto that windshield. And I'd stand up and you wouldn't believe if you didn't see it, and I'd kill those jackrabbits and run into my rifle, and we'd take the jackrabbits down to them people's houses.
Yeah.
And I just a little humor that went with the war.
Yeah.
After the war.
Did the people act skittish of the gunfire? Did the civilians act like they were?
Well, I didn't see enough of them I
to
know.
know.
I couldn't tell you about this.
If it brought them some food, they probably weren't too bad.
Yeah. And I learned all my men from back east, and I said, boys, I'm sitting there on the Inn River, waiting for something. We didn't know what we was waiting for. And I had all our tanks. We had, I don't know, we had 2 or 3 cases, I guess, 15, 20, and 2 dozen hand grenades in our tank in case we got up close and had to use them. Every tank had a supply of hand grenades. And the Inn River looked like good fishing to me. Big holes of water there and shoal just like the rivers here. And I said, some of my boys, I said, you ever hear, you know how we used to fish with dynamite back in Arkansas? Did you ever hear that? Hear how some Arkansas used to hunt? See, I was the only Arkansas in the company. All eastern boys. I said, I'm going to show you boys how we used to get fish with dynamite. Now go to your tanks and get you 3 or 4 hand grenades and let's go down to the river. So we went down to the river. And I said, okay, now be careful. Throw those hand grenades. Now don't all throw it one time, just you throw and you throw it. You throw that hand grenade, but when you do, we'll hit the ground. And we dynamited that. We've done that though. quite a few times. Dynamite that river with hand grenades, and we'd go down to the shoal, pick up the dead fish. Lord, we got enough to have a big fish fry for the whole company. I could clean fish, and I thought I don't ever want to see another fish. And we caught the good fish.
You do tell.
Now, I'm the only person alive, but you ever seen this? That wasn't fishing with hand grenades.
Well, it was welcome fare after eating that stuff the Army
Yeah,
provided.
anything, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, boy. And those people over there, they didn't have salt or anything like that. No salt, you know. And I was pretty good buddy with the mess sergeant, and I'd get him to give me salt, and I'd take salt to people, I'd give them deer to. Oh, golly.
Yeah.
And they were just so thankful. They just, you know, just, of course, they couldn't talk, but they would just bow down to it, just so thankful. And it made you glad that you was American.
Yes.
Yeah. I started to tell her another funny one, and I forgot down this way always. Something
I don't know.
Tell her you did get to go to Paris, though.
Yeah, after the war, I got to spend a weekend in Paris. Very funny.
Was it a pretty place?
Do what?
Was it a pretty place?
No, it wasn't to be. I got to go to the Eiffel Tower, but they wouldn't let us go up in it because it was off limits. So it's a dirty town to me. Narrow streets. You know, Paris is built around a hub like this. The
Yes.
streets come into this hub.
Uh-huh.
It's narrow, dirty streets. It wasn't anything.
Just
dead
an old,
person.
old.
And the Eiffel Tower down at the end of the street was all closed off. We could go up and look up at it, but we couldn't climb up in it.
Mm.
But the streets, we had a free run of the streets, and the bars, and I didn't smoke, and we had a cigarette ration, so many cigarettes a week or a month, and the tank driver didn't smoke, and we just let the cigarettes accumulate with the box in the tank. So when I went, me and the first sergeant, we got a pass with the Frank and the Paris. And they loaded a truckload of us, I guess, went in there. We had duffel bags, and I loaded them with duffel bags. I don't know how many packages of cigarettes I had. And I would go into those bars, I'd sell those cigarettes. I think I don't know, it seemed like I made about $300 over there. And I sent that money I sent Lucille. I remember sending you $300 or $350 one time, and the soldiers there were giving that much money, you know. But I was there for my trip to Paris, and I sent her the money. I said, I don't need that money. And I sent it to her. I sold them cigarettes on the black market.
Were you able to write and receive letters very well? Did you get news from home?
Some of them was, at one point, they were censored when we were in company. We couldn't write back.
Oh.
We had to be careful. They'd censor a little what was writing back. And I had something she caught on to. I'd let her know who wasn't with us anymore, who got bumped off. And I'd say something about, you remember my buddy? Seemed like I wouldn't say he got killed or anything like that. I'd put something there and let her know that he wouldn't with it. I'd let her know that Harvey got wounded. I can't remember what that was. And I heard in my company, I heard we lost, I think somewhere between 100 and 200 men.
How big is the company now?
Richmond, I don't know. Let's see, there's 25, there's 125 in the company. And I forget how many companies, there's 5 or 6 companies in a brigade. We call a unit. But that was, we lost quite a few.
Was your tank ever directly hit?
No, wasn't directly hit. I got hit by one of my buddies run into me one night and set my rear idle wheel on fire, the grease. Had to get in for that. That's the only hit I got from one. I forget whose tank that was. Backed into me or something, bit my idle wheel.
Have you investigated the new tanks? Have you had the
No,
opportunity?
I've always wanted, ours would be just like the difference in a wagon and in a limousine now.
Yes.
They've got the radar, the night sights and all of that. All we had was periscope sights. And I had to tell my gunner when to fire one.
Were you called upon to wire them together and keep them going?
Do what?
Did you have to wire them up and keep them going?
Yeah. We had the intercoms and then radios and all the tanks.
I'm referring to repairs. Did you have to do your own repairs?
To a certain point, what we call first echelon. Every time we stopped, the driver would get out and check it over. He'd check the brackets that helped the skid, the tank, the wheels, the tires, what the tires, the tracks, what I'm trying to say. They were held on and they'd get loose. If we got too loose, we'd lose the track, and there we sat. Every time we stopped, he'd take that, and then he hadn't know enough about his engine. They sat side by side, and they worked independent with each other. Each one had his car shift, and he had a thing up in front of him that kept them synchronized on RPMs, and they had to exactly like he's going 250 RPMs. If this one over here rested 240, well, this one over here was doing all the pulling, and it would get hot and go out of commission, and he had to keep them set. That was one of his main jobs, to see if each one of those tanks was pulling it slow. And he had dials up there to keep them, see what we call synchronized.
Yes.
And then he'd check his engine. He had this.
How much space did you have inside?
Not very much. It's crowded. It's crowded. You have to lay down and sleep on the floor if it curled up a little bit. You couldn't stretch out in it, that's for sure.
And you had 5 people in there?
5 people. Over here had a gun. I had the driver over here, and assistant had a bell gun, what we call a bell gun, and an assistant driver over on the right.
Yeah.
They sat down in it with their heads sticking out. Of course, they had a lid pull. They could get down in the tank and pull that down and look through. They had a periscope they could look through down there. I could do the same thing up here, but my God, you couldn't run 4 tanks to your own tank and see where he's going and looking through a little old periscope. I had to see so I had to keep my head sticking.
Yeah.
That's when I was telling old boy upstairs, kind of look at everything.
Yes.
I said, Lord, I want to go home and raise my voice.
So at the end of the war, what rank did you have?
Staff sergeant.
Staff sergeant. And after your few weeks that you had to wait to be shipped back home, can you remember what month or?
I don't remember I forget where we landed on the East Coast coming back. Some Camp Penton? No, that wasn't it. I stayed there a while, and they gave us a leave. That's here on the East Coast when we come back. We landed over here, and they gave us a leave to come by home. And mine, I stayed home. I think I got a 2 weeks leave. I come by home, and then reported over to Camp Chaffee to get my orders to go to the West Coast. And so I tried to get.
I believe it was in Virginia. I'm not exactly sure.
Virginia, where landed, yeah. Well, I left. I took off from Newport News, Virginia, and I don't know where landed and come back. I just don't remember, but it's on the East Coast, I know.
It may be in
And that's
some
where I
of
got
those
my
letters.
leave to come.
What did you feel like when you got on American soil again?
Oh man, I can't describe it. And coming back, I'll tell you what, I was on a big ship, coming back, and the sea was calm, and it was smooth, and I'd stand on that deck, and I'm getting kind of mushy now. I'd get up on the front of that deck, stand there, and that old moon, beautiful moon, and then the waves on up. You talk about a picture, and the waves are lapping down here again, the bow, lap, 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 lap. And I'd stand in the end of that ship on the railing, I'd look up at that moon, and I'd think, oh, my prayers are answered, I'm going home. I'm on my way home. You'll never know how, you can't describe it. Beautiful. That's on that ship coming home, and that big old moon, and all that sea, that moon shining over that sea, and it was calm. Only noise you could hear is that ship hitting the water.
To you, that was the symbol of the peace you had been able to gain by your service.
Yeah, I'm telling you, you never know. And let me tell you, you don't get some of that. You don't. We still had a pretty good time with me after I come home. You don't get over that.
No.
Now let me tell you something. mark my word, these boys come to, I don't know how they feel, because I was called back from the service. I had 2 little boys I had to get up and leave then. I was called back, the Korean deal. And well, that's another story. And, if I started, I've lost my train of thought.
Before we go on to that, about your adjustment, you were starting to talk about your adjustment after you got home.
Oh.
Tell me though, you were in California in the camp waiting to go to Japan when they told you the war was over. So how long did you have to wait before you were discharged?
Just a few days.
Few days.
Just a few days, because they turned and I had a chance to stand in the army or coming home. And guess what I chose?
Oh.
Yeah.
So you came back to probably Camp Chaffee?
No, I come right home.
Right straight home.
They paid me. It's on this discharge here, what they paid me. I get $300, I think, like that, and I kids like going.
Yeah.
I will need that. I needed that money.
Yes.
So I said for a ticket.
So you came home to your wife and little boy, and life was a big change after being in war, wasn't it? There was a big change.
Yeah, and I say, you ain't the same person.
No.
You don't get over that seeing those people. I've seen the dead men in front of me in corpses get out of my tank and you can walk on them. And if you don't think you'll take that home with you, all this and that, I don't ever talk about that, but just give you what it's like.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't mean our men, on the other men.
No.
They didn't allow you to get out and clean the roads before you went down them either, did they?
No, you stayed in that tank. All the time you got out of that tank, maybe you get stopped for something and you get out and relieve yourself or something like that. They say mount up, you mounted up and took off.
Miss Lucille, tell us what it was like, what kind of adjustment it was for him when he came home.
The kind of adjustment,
Yeah.
well,
Did he have nightmares?
yes, he did, and he would get up and tear the paper off the walls.
Oh, out of frustration.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
You could drop a pin and I'd jump through my cap. And you better not, if I took a nap daytime, you better not wake me up because I'll come up to faint.
Oh my. So it
I
was.
know my daughter-in-law, your face, why, she woke me up once. I was there in the living room laying on the couch, and I took a swing at her. If I'd hit her, I'd killed her. And I said, Judy, my God, don't never do that. If you're gonna wake me, holler, don't come over and kiss me and shake me like that. And oh Lordy, that's mild what some of these boys are.
Oh,
They're gonna be divorces. They already have been. They come back. They're gonna be divorces. They're gonna be murders. And them timid husbands that went overseas like that and goody mama's boys, they ain't gonna be goody mama's boys when they come home. They ain't gonna be a loving husband. I'm not talking about the whole bunch. I'm talking about some of them. And you're gonna read about the paper. You're gonna read about divorces. You're gonna read about murders, and stress.
Yes, it's stress.
The stress of
Very
war.
much.
And it's already happening. It's already happening. They're trying to keep it quiet now. Because I know what I'm talking about.
Well, it was terrible and it was hard, but my generation owes you a thank you. We want to thank you for your service to our country because we realize what would have happened to the world if you men had not done that difficult job.
Something that had to be done.
Briefly tell us that you came back to civilian life, and what did you work at?
I went to work for a feed company. Pretty big. I worked there 13 years.
Alma or
Fort Smith.
Fort Smith, Arkansas.
Sold there. I got to be purchasing agent. Boy, that was a good job. I like sitting behind that desk.
And then tell me when you were called back. What was going on in the world?
I was working with a guy who was in the CIA Criminal Investigation Reserves. And times were pretty hard back then. He was making, I think, about $60 a month extra. Attending meetings twice a month or once a week. And he talked me into joining the CIA Reserve. He said, just like picking up out of the street, said, we don't do anything. And lo and behold, I joined him. And lo and behold, this Korean deal come along, and I had to leave. I know how these, I see it on television. I remember when I left Lucille out in the yard. They had left, and you then two little boys.
Two of them now.
And I had to leave. But I didn't leave the state that time. I went to sent me to Camp Gordon, Georgia, to school. And I had before I could go into CID school, I had to complete military police. I went through military police school, and I got a vet scan. I got a diploma to prove it. Then I went into criminal investigation school. Boy, I tell you, that was rough. And I graduated from that. I got credentials of a CID agent, and I had a chance to get out on account of the defense. They needed me at home, and I convinced them with some help back here through my lawyer, paper signed that I was needed at home, and I got a discharge, and I told them that when I lost my discharge, I said, look, this don't bother me one bit to leave this army now, because I've got the World War II behind me, and I've got combat behind me that most of you guys in CID don't have. And I said, this not bother me a bit to go home this time.
Yes.
And he said, you know, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
So I come home. But
That was the end of your military career.
But I still got my diploma out of
Yeah.
everyone. And I had a chance to answer the advertisement and want investigators. And the guy wanted me to go to another state, another town, and take over an investigating unit, like to have Fort Smith, you know, and installing things like that and investigating. And boys, good job. Probably a good future. I said, look, to myself, I said, I'm not going to leave home anymore. I've had it. And I told him, I said, no, I'm sorry. He just begged me. He said, you got qualifications for that. I said, yeah, but I'm not going to leave home anymore. I said, you don't have anything in Fort Smith? He said, no. Okay, I come home.
But you don't regret any of the service that you gave?
Not that, no. Proud of it.
Proud of it.
Yeah, proud of it.
We thank you.
I'm proud of it.
Miss Lucille, I'd like for you to say a few words and then
Well,
tell us about your family.
I'll tell you, I drove to Georgia with the two boys, and our youngest one was 4. And when we got there, we could not get him out of the car. He said, we come after my daddy, we've got him, and let's go home.
See what I had to leave?
He wanted daddy
But they
to
come down and stayed with us while I was going to school.
Yeah, we stayed, we went in,
That made it
we
going
went
to
in
school, boy,
December.
that wasn't bad. That wasn't bad. God, I'm telling you, that CID school is rough. But you study at night, you study weekends, and
Tell us how many children you wound up with and their names.
Oh, just the two boys.
two little boys.
Just
their
two boys.
names.
And,
But this is Florida. We got 18 great grandkids,
Well, you're doing good.
but only 15 of them are boys.
15 boys.
Oh, 15 out of 18 are boys. Oh, that's right. I'm right on that. 15 of them are boys. God, we just got 2 sons.
2 sons.
We got 6 grandkids. So.
Yeah,
One boy, 6.
the oldest one
5
had a
girls
boy,
now.
had a boy and a girl.
And my son, one of my son, he's got 4 girls. He don't have any boys. He's got some grandsons, but he don't have any sons. He's got 4 girls. Oh, 4 girls.
Well, is there any advice you'd like to give to the younger generation before we finish today?
No.
Comments about service to your country? The attitudes among our youth?
The only thing I'm worried about is so much dope. You don't know who's on it anymore. And when I come home, I was nervous. I was drinking, but I never did take dope. But finally, finally I had enough to quit before it killed me. And I wouldn't take a drink of when you put $100 bill there and a drink of whiskey and you say you can't have one of them, you got to take them both. I'd say thank you very much.
Yes.
I hate it. But for goodness sakes, to stay off of this dope, they don't know what they're getting into, and they think it's smart. They got to keep up with the crowd, and the crowd don't give a damn about them. They just, and you'd be surprised anymore that the people are on that dope.
Yeah. It's a different type war, but it's even more deadly, isn't it?
It's more deadly.
It certainly is.
And they tell me, I don't know, that narcotics is 3 times as hard to get off as alcohol. I've heard that I've been told that said you might quit alcohol and not dope or something else. You'll kill for it if you can't get it. A lot of them do, these gangs.
Well, that's very good
And
advice.
get an education. Get an education. Stay clean and by hook or crook, I always wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to teach math or psychology. I know I was a math quiz in high school, and my granddaughter, she teaches 12th grade advanced math at Northside in Fort Smith, and I'm really proud of her.
Yes.
Oh, she's smart. She is smart now.
She's living your dream.
She got her national teacher's license. She can teach anywhere in the United States.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, we thank you. You're a pair of sweethearts, and we appreciate all the input y'all have been into our community with the Alma Genealogical Society that you founded, Miss Lucille.
Well, I kind of skimmed the top of talking to you, but I told you things I never didn't tell anybody else.
Well, you have an important story, and we want to do our part to help preserve those stories.
Did you read this article?
Yes, they have their love story.
I got a kick out of that. That's the first time I met.
Anything that you want to take from this, just go right ahead, okay?
On
Yes,
that dirt
thank
road
you.
we worked down,
and
we built we still live on that dirt road.
Oh, you did. You did.
We've been in that house 61 years.
61 years.
This has got
Your
all
genealogy.
of our children and
That's something else.
grandchildren and all in
That's
that, so
something else.
anything you want.
Thank you very much, both of you.